is the realest show out.
You did the opposite of what I think most people do. Sometimes it can be kind of scary to just put yourself out there.
That's real. That's raw. That's exactly what we're looking for. We look forward to connecting with you guys on all of our social media platforms. The way to support us is to like and comment on all your favorite episodes. And please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications for the next Gut Check Uncut. Okay, guys, Todd Special here, co-host of Gut Check Uncut. I got B-Bisc in the house.
What's up?
Dude, this guest today is absolutely going to blow your mind. I mean, one of my favorite speakers ever. This guy's a sales trainer. He's a world-renowned speaker. He's worked and experienced some pretty cool things with some of the largest Fortune 500 companies on the planet. He's Chicago raised from the inner city we just spoke about. He's written several books. He's got a masterclass on virtual engagement. This guy has an academy called Sales Velocity Academy. I mean, I could go on and on. One of the cool things, though, is that this guy came from the streets. I mean, if you've done your research on this guy, which you'll do once this podcast is over, trust me. I mean, he's got a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, an MBA. He was a 20-year addition to a $420 million company as the president of global sales and marketing. He was the vice president of international sales for a large Fortune 500 company. And then he took all that education and knowledge and got into speaking and sales training because he wanted to help people. He shared the stage with some pretty cool people. I want you guys to listen closely. From Damon John, Shark Tank, Rudy Giuliani. He's been on with John May, CEO of FedEx and Kinko's. He's been on stage with Grant Cardone. That's actually the first time that I saw this guy. And he launched the Sales Mastery Academy. And he has over 350 videos on YouTube. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers. And I got to tell you, I could not be more excited for this guy. So, Brandon, without further ado, what do you think about this guy?
Victor is as legitimate as they come in the sales world. He's, when I think of kind of some of the top 5 guys that, not to age anyone here, but kind of growing up looking into sales and sales psychology and all that stuff. He's the face and the name that's in that top 5. So I can't thank you more. Mr. Victor Antonio. What's up, brother?
What's happening, man?
Dude, man, glad to be here, man. I got a feeling this is going to be a wild ride, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, we're a little different platform, man. Your humor behind what you do is awesome. I know that is attached to the 196,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. I've heard you say it multiple times of how you scaled that thing. We want the raw and uncut Victor, not the fluff. We don't want the guy we don't want you to sell us on this. And you've never been that guy, which is the reason why we want you on the show. But as you know, a lot of people just kind of, they don't want to cross that line. We want you to cross it.
Just step all over it.
That's it, brother. Step all over it. Cross that line. Your content's amazing. It's changed my life, man. So tell us a little bit about Victor, if you don't mind.
So background is my family is originally from Puerto Rico. So they moved to Chicago in the late 50s. So my mother had a 3rd grade education. My father had a 5th grade education. Your typical immigrant story, didn't speak the language. I'm the youngest of 7. Mama said, go to school, get the education, get the job. So I got my degrees. People always ask me this. They say, Victor, what was the motivating factor to make you want to get that degree? What was your purpose? And I'm like, money. I just told you we were poor. I was money. I'm like, I am so money motivated. I'm like the ultimate capitalist, man. You put a coin in me, stuff starts to happen, man. That's how I function, man. And people hear that and they go, well, are you just money motivated? I'm like, yeah, why else wouldn't you be? Because I'm that guy that I believe in value for value. And that is, if I give you value, I expect value in return. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think we've penalized the word money and made it synonymous with greed. I don't think that is. If you're providing value, that's not greed. That's growing wealth and abundance. So I got my engineering degree. And like anything else, if you do it for the wrong reasons, things are going to happen. So 3 years into my degree, I'm coding, writing software, testing hardware. I'm working for Honeywell's undersea systems division on a torpedo system, the Mach 50. And I'm like, 3 years into this, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And it's a moment, right? You're like, shit, I don't want to do this anymore. But then you think about sunk cost, all that time you invested just to get here. And at that time, I'm dating myself, but I'm making like $30,000 a year. And I'm thinking I'm rocking some serious money at this point, right? And so I started moving around. And long story short, I wound up in sales. And man, when I hit sales, dude, it was like a hyperpad. I've made so much money in sales that I think it is the greatest profession, because if you work for a great company that has a great product and a compensation plan, boom, boom, the 1-2, man, that's the best place to be. And if they're stupid enough to cap you, leave the company. That's what I tell people. Any company that caps your salary, leave. Go find yourself another job.
Amen, brother.
Anyway, that's how I got into sales, man. It was I like to say that, early on, it was all about trying to get money. And then after a while, you convert it into quality of life, man.
Mm-hmm.
And how you want to live. And I think salespeople have the best quality of life sometimes. Yeah, we travel a lot, but man, sometimes when you score some of these big accounts and you get that big check, like when I left corporate America, May 9th, 2001, 3:48 p.m. to be exact, right? I walked away from everything. And I tell this story all the time. At that time, my base salary as president of sales and marketing for that $420 million company was $250,000. That was my base salary only. That's like 2001, 20 years ago, okay? Yeah. So that's a lot of money. Average commission checks, $300,000 plus stock options with the company. And I walked away from it. And everybody in my neighborhood from the hood was like, are you crazy? Are you an idiot? I'm like, I'm just not feeling this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'd rather do my own thing. And I think that's when the real learning experience about selling and marketing came about. Because when you go on your own, you guys know, damn, it's a different game.
Dude, I love the portion, and I've heard this story because I've had the luxury of listening to you speak on stage. And you talked about it on stage, and you talked about your first year, and you talked to your wife when you got out, and you said, "Hey, we're going to do this. I'm going to be a sales trainer. I'm going to change people's lives. I want to help everything." And then tell the listeners, what did you make your first year?
Dude, you've done too much research. So here I am, full of myself, just totally full of myself, because president of sales, marketing, engineering degree, and MBA. What can I not do, right?
Yeah. So
May 9th, 2001, 3:48, I say bye-bye, right? And when you first quit, you're like, there's this euphoria, like, screw you, corporations, I'm out of here, right? Type of thing. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? What did I do, right? So now the hustle mentality kicks in, right? From the hood, the hustle mentality. How do we make this work? Trying to make $1 out of 15 cent type of mindset kicks in.
Yeah.
And so I started working. In my first 6 months, I made a whopping $17,000. And I'm having this moment. And my wife was like, I told you probably heard the story. My wife was like, when I first quit, she's like, yeah, her fist was like up in the air, like, yeah, do your thing, husband. Go do your thing, right? And then after I made 17,000, she's like, yeah. You do your thing. Yeah. What happened to the enthusiasm?
Demeanor changed.
That's when I learned how to become a better, not only salesperson, but a better marketer. But I it was around that time that, I really wanted to do something. I call it the quiet discontent. There's something in here sometimes that you want to do that, you're just not on purpose. And I hate to use the word like things like purpose or, you're aligned up with your destiny, all this existential BS. I like to kind of keep it real. Like, I'm just not liking what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then I finally made that decision to just take a chance. And it was scary, but I'm telling you right now, the last 20 years, incredible, man. The people I've met, you've mentioned some of them, the experiences I've had, you couldn't write this in a book, man.
Well, speaking of books, you're the author of it says I know you've written more than 13 books, but there's a lot of books out there that you've written that I've read. And man, the material's amazing. Sometimes people think it just gets repetitive. It's not with you. I'm honest, and I don't blow smoke up anybody's ass, Victor, but I told you, we talked about this before the podcast started when I saw you at GrowthCon 1. And I've talked about this story a little bit yesterday with a guest about, remember when GrowthCon 1 was set up and they had all the tables and the VIP guys were in the front row and all this.
Yeah.
And we're talking to a guest yesterday. He says, yeah, man, I was at GrowthCon 1. I said, where were you sitting? He goes, I was up front. I was sitting right next to Tim Grover. And and he goes,
great dude, by the way. He's a great dude, man.
Yeah,
yeah. I love him, man.
Yeah. So
by the way, he kissed me on the cheek. I said something to him. We were talking and he's just like, dude, I love you. And I'm like, all right, my man.
Still haven't washed your face, I'm guessing. I don't know. Still there. But I don't know if you remember the setup, but you know how the tables were set up and all the materials, the pen was there, right? Okay. Yeah. Well, you also remember the big screens, right? For the people in the back that couldn't see shit. Sure. Well, I was the guy in the back of the back of the back of the back. The only time I saw Victor Antonio's shiny, beautiful bald head was on a massive large screen because I couldn't see it from the stage, and those tickets were $1,000 a piece. Yeah. And I want to tell the listeners out there that was 2017. It was a pretty huge turning point in my life when I started kind of excelling. And a lot of it was because of your speech. And it was you, Bobby Castro, a lot of great speakers that were there, but I resonated with you because you added so much humor. I've used a lot of your shit on stage, I'm not going to lie, because it's just so cool. It's so powerful. It's so fun.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about that experience, because I know you said that, it was a cool experience. Tell the listeners why GrowthCon was.
Yeah, it was actually cool, scary. So first of all, Grant Cardone, great dude, man. Him and his right-hand man, Jared Glant down there, just great people. I have my content actually on their platform as well. Mm-hmm. And so we've had a great partnership ever since. We actually wound up Grant and I did a 3-day boot camp after that on sales. Doing a boot camp with Grant is another experience altogether, man. Get ready to be interrupted every 10 minutes. Yeah. But it was great, because he's got energy, man, and it doesn't stop. But I will say that behind closed doors, I got a chance to see the guy, and the dude's really cool. And what I love about Grant Cardone that people don't see is that he really cares about the people around him. He really does. He really does. And so Jared calls me up and says, "Hey, Victor, GrowthCon." Sure. I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? Right.
Yeah.
I'm not really thinking. I'm like, sure. And so I remember I gave people my slide. To make a long story short, there's a down monitor. Then there's these screens up there. Right.
Yeah.
And so first of all, the down monitor is not working. It's showing one thing, and the screens are showing another thing. They're not even matching. Right. It'd be nice if they were matching. They weren't matching. And then somewhere in there, I said, screw it. And I just went to like a blackboard, which is like their whiteboard version. Yep. And I just said, all right, we're going to do this the old school way. Let's do this. And it's really weird because I've gotten so much great feedback from that presentation, because the feedback I typically get is this: dude, I was watching you present. I was enjoying it. He says, but when everything went to hell in the handbasket up there, you just said, give me a board. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's when I knew. They said, you knew your stuff, because you didn't even give a shit about the flip charts or what, the slide. You just went for it.
Yeah.
And real test.
Yeah. And I messed with the audience quite a bit. I like messing with the audience, by the way.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember you drawing out verticals, and it was just so cool to kind of just see you flow. And I remember that moment because you had this little kind of pause, like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah. And I saw it in your face, and it was like the energy turned up. And that's one thing I love about hearing.
Yeah.
If anybody listening right now has not heard Victor or seen him on stage, you guys need to watch. It's powerful, man.
By the way, the video's on YouTube. If you type in Victor Antonio Grant Cardone, you'll see it.
Yeah.
You'll see the whole hiccuping of the whole presentation. And that was like, oh, what do we do now? And then I just did screw the script. And it actually turned out better, I thought.
Nice.
I agree.
So I want to just back up a little bit, just because we went from, you went on your own, you made 17 grand in 6 fucking months, and all of a sudden you're on Grant Cardone's stage. So I just kind of want to look back.
What?
I would love, because a lot of us, we know there's a ton of books out there. There's a ton of content out there. There's a lot of really amazing stuff out there that you and other people have given to the world. But a lot of it focuses on the successes, which is great.
Sure.
But I kind of want to take a second and look at, what was that thing that turned you from 17 grand in 6 months to Grant Cardone's stage? I know that's a long time, but there had to have been a couple maybe moments in there that you felt were a catapult. And then 2, maybe kind of what was like one of your biggest mistakes you've made in your career in that span of time that you were able to kind of turn around?
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's handle the gap, because everybody wants to talk about the gap. Let me just step back. One of the most powerful books I've ever read is the book Outlier by Malcolm Gladwell. I think everybody should read that book. Have you guys read it at all?
No. Yeah.
Do put it at the top of the shelf book, because that book talks about how people become successful, right? And how there are serendipitous moments, things that happen that you're like, you couldn't plan that. That's why, look, I've seen people who talk about, dude, I can show you how to make $10 million in 10 days, right?
Yeah.
And they probably did. But to duplicate that, it's not possible. And I think that's where the big lie is in many cases when I see some of these speakers. Yeah. Now, back to the story. Quit my job, right? I'm doing this thing, right? And there's some other stuff that happened in there, but it's just too long. It should be a documentary in and of itself. And by the way, I do have a documentary online. If you type in Victor Antonio, The Motivator, there's a documentary online, and it actually won an International Film Festival award. But anyway, back to the story. Awesome. So I do this. Let me go to 2008. Let me just back up all the way to 2008. And then we'll catapult to 2017, because that's really the gap. Everybody sees me on stage with Grant Cardone. They don't see the 10 years before that.
Right.
And so 2003, 2004, I'm doing more motivational speeches than anything else. It was around 2008. It's like, I'm not making money. I'm not like, I'm making money. Look, first year I made 17, first 6 months, 17. Then I went to like 56. Then I did over 100K. And then you know how it is. You're just never satisfied. You want to grow. And I was doing the college market a lot. So I cut my teeth in the college market, right? Speaking, learning. And then I'd done Toastmasters. So I learned how to speak well. Then one day I said, you know what? I'm going to start speaking using my style because I don't like what I'm doing. Giving you the short version. That's when I started messing around on stage and really enjoying the presentation, trying to combine education just with a little bit of humor and entertainment, right? So around 2008, I said, you know what? We got to commit. You can't serve two masters. It's either one or the other. I said, let's do sales. Let's go back home. Let's go back home. We're just going to do sales. 2008. It was around that time I read Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crush It. And he said, video. And I'm like, video, right? We're in. And I went all in on video. Go look at my videos. I think we have about, the Academy has about 350, I think it's up to like 500 now, actually. Mm-hmm. And then on YouTube, I think I have like 1,400 videos. And so you go back, you look at the market, it's like 2008. I'm all video. I got those little handheld video. I'm just videoing. The first video I did was actually a laptop in my hand, turned on, and I'm doing a marker, and I'm whipping the marker, doing some funny stuff, whatever. That was the first video. I didn't care. I was out, and then I gave myself a cadence: 3 videos every week, 3 videos every week. Because you know that saying, do what other people aren't willing to do. And at that time, I was just cranking. And Gary V, right, said video. Video was it. And it was around that time that Google bought YouTube. And I'm like, this is starting to make sense. And so I was ahead of the game when it came to video. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. So I don't know if you guys know, but I have a reality show called Life or Debt.
Yes.
You guys know,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Life or Debt. So Life or Debt was because I remember the guy, he recorded me in the stadium, right? I was doing a graduation keynote. And I remember seeing a guy just set up his camera, record. Okay, didn't think much about it, don't care. Because I like people sharing my videos. I'm not that guy like, please don't record me. Please don't record me. By the way, people who say that don't have content. They're full of it. Because I'm like, yeah, record me, share it everywhere. Go global with it. About a month or two later, this part I'm making up because I don't remember the time frame, but it was sometime afterwards, I received this DVD. And it's my video. It's me on stage. I'm just killing it, right? So I put it on YouTube. Didn't think much of it. I needed something to put online. I put it online. Fast forward about a year later, I get a call, right? And it's Hollywood. Hey, we're looking for a host for our new show called Life or Death. Like, what? I was like, so long story short, I got the show. I'm in. So at around that time, I remember Grant Cardone had his own network going on. I think it was called the Whatever It Takes Network or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's when I reached out to Jared Glant. I reached out to Jared. I said, hey, man, I need to promote this new show we got coming out on TV. So this is about 5 years ago now and something like that. And I said, can I get on the Whatever It Takes, to promote it? And it never happened. But me and Jared just kept the relationship going. He's like, Grant's a little busy, doesn't have time for you, doesn't even know who you are, Victor, type of thing. I'm just like, all right. And I've learned not to take stuff personally anymore. I just don't. I'm just beyond that. And so we kept going back and forth on stuff, never really coordinated. And then out of nowhere, Jared said, hey, we're doing this growth comp. I thought of you because we've been cool. By the way, that's why you should be cool to all people around you. Just be cool with it because you never know where it comes. And then that's how I got the call. But the conversation with Grant Cardone, more specifically with Jared Glant, began because I was trying to get on the Whatever It Takes network to really promote our new television series, Life or Debt, which you can find on Amazon and stuff like that. And that's how it came about. But if you ask me what happened, what was the magic? The magic was I was just cranking so much video. Do you know what I mean? That was my thing. And my whole thing was, I'm not going to kiss anybody's ass. I'm like, in other words, you know how people just get close to you because they want something from you? I said, I'm not going to do that. I said, I believe in gravitational force. If I can create enough content, the law of attraction is bound to kick in. That's my fervent belief even today. If I create enough great content with great value, I don't need to beg for anything. People will come and ask me. And that's exactly what started happening. But I mean, it wasn't until I got maybe to like almost 200 videos that I started seeing some real views, because it's really discouraging when you put up a video, get 3 views. You're like, damn, that was such good content. Then you put up another video, like 20 views, like, damn, but that was such good content. Yeah. And funny story, my most popular video, which is about to hit 2 million, is called Sales Excellence. Yeah. And that was a 15-minute rant. I walk into the room, just turn on the lights and just ranted for 15 minutes because I got off a conversation with somebody and I ranted. And I stored the video. And then one day I had nothing put up. And I'm like, just put the rant up. And that took off. And that video has generated so much business for me that it's incredible. So all these videos created a certain cumulative momentum over time. And that's what people don't see. You know how, people, what's that saying about, I think it was comedians or actors, it took them 10 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
And I think people don't see that. Yeah. And that's why I get irritated when I hear people talk about the quick fixes and how you can go from 0 to a million, in 30 days. You're like, come on. Let's be real about this. Let's kind of set this
wants
straight.
that quick, easy gratification.
By the way, does that answer the question?
Dude, 100%. I mean, it just seems like, we're blessed that we get to talk to amazing people like yourself. And I'm always looking for commonalities. And one of the things that I'm kind of hearing, which, I've even had struggles with myself is sometimes it can be kind of scary to put yourself out there. Like, make some fucking content, put it online, be yourself and see what happens. Maybe you got 3 views. Maybe it still felt good for you. But you had to start somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you said, that snowball effect.
I think people get too self-conscious. Even today, we've gone virtual, right? People get self-conscious, and I think if you look at sometimes I look at a video and it's got poor lighting, poor angle, the whole bit, and it's got 1 million views. I said, what is it? It's content.
Yeah. At
the end of the day, it's content. And I try to tell people that. I said, stop worrying about how you look so much and worry about the content you're delivering. If you gave that as much weight, you'd probably have a great video. And I think, our tendency is that we always remember the one negative. You can get 1,000 positive thumbs up, but one person puts a negative comment. Our brain immediately goes to that negative comment. Mm-hmm. Why didn't they like it? Dude, accept the 1% rule. 1% of people will never like you.
Yeah.
Even when I do a presentation, I actually say this.
What if it's 60% for Brandon?
Yeah.
Though?
What if I was going to do 90? I was going to flip it. I was like,
60% don't like that.
40% people.
If I get 1% of this world to fucking like me, I got a great market.
Always.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's the mindset right now. Yeah. 99 hate me, but that one.
That what you're telling me. There's a chance.
So that's my mindset. And so as soon as you kind of accept that mindset, and by the way, you do, let's tie the phrase in. You can do your own gut check on whether you delivered good content or not, or did you kind of really just put stuff out there that wasn't worth anything, right?
Right.
And I think if you know it's good and you feel it's good, put it out there. And I think people who experiment with video, try different. I love it. Yeah. I've learned to become less. I get mad at people who criticize other people's videos now.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude, where's yours? Where's yours? Yeah. Because it's easy to throw stones right at the church windows, but it's like, where's yours? Yeah. I had my first book, The Logic of Success. I remember I had a friend from high school call me up, and because he asked me for a copy of the book. I sent it to him. I paid for it. I gave it to you. And I call him up. He calls me up, leaves a message, call me back, got your book, read it, wanted to talk to you about it. I'm thinking he's going to be like, dude, awesome. From the hood, wrote a book. Right. He goes, I went through the book. It's interesting. That's when you know you're in trouble. It's interesting. Yeah. And then he goes, I just wanted to highlight that I found a couple of typos. And I'm like, what the? But I don't say that. I'm like, okay. I said, but what'd you think of the book? Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was really good. And I'm waiting for like,
something is there any positive?
Is there anything else? No, that was it, right? And then the smart ass side of me comes up. I said, okay, so you found some typos. Great. I said, where's your book? And he says, what do you mean? I said, have you written a book yet? He goes, no. I go, that's my point exactly. Until you write one, you don't understand how hard this is.
Yeah.
And I've learned that people who criticize you, I always look at them like, what you got? Because if the other person's doing it, they'll never criticize you because they understand how hard it is.
Yeah, they know the
like you guys do this podcast, right? And you probably got a few haters out there already.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are too raw. You swear too much. You're just too direct, right? Yeah. But you're like, next, move over. Let's quiet the noise. Let's move the noise over. But when you talk to other podcasters, they'll probably respect you because they know this is not easy.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because, I have a lot of questions from just the conversation in general. But when we were creating Gut Check, it was something when the pandemic hit. I was doing a lot of free lives online, doing some sales training myself and just trying to add value to people's lives. Wasn't looking to monetize, giving good content, good information to good people. And what I realized very quickly is that when I started, I realized that me trying to be like Victor Antonio or like Grant Cardone or like somebody else wasn't my highest views.
Yeah.
My highest views came from me getting pissed off and giving great content and going, I'm tired of people in the sales word fucking lying to people. You talked about speakers. One of the very first events I spoke at in LA, they had some great speakers, Ty Lopez, Jack Canfield. They had all these guys out there. Nobody knew my fucking name. Right. And when I was speaking there was a lot of people that said, dude, you're about as raw as it gets. We want you to speak with us, because I remember when my dad passed away, I got on stage and it's very similar scenario. I hate PowerPoints, by the way, Victor. I'm not a PowerPoint guy, right? I like off the cuff. I do believe that they're necessary in some cases, but I got on stage, the clicker broke. I threw the clicker to the guy that was running it, got Ashton Kutcher and Jack Canfield in the crowd, and I said, I don't need this thing. And it was one of my biggest views as well. I just kind of let people have the real and the raw. What I love about what you do is that I know you prepare for these things, but you speak, it almost sounds so unscripted because it's so natural that and I've seen the sales.
It's so scripted. It's so scripted.
But it's like, the way that you build and give that content is real. Gut Check in general is having real people like yourself. I don't want to have the fake people. I don't want to give people fake content, but there's so many people in the world right now that aren't doing things like you say they're doing. Like when I wrote my book, it was the same thing. There's a ton of grammatical errors. There's a ton of shit. And I was just, and I had that same scenario. Question for you is, I got a couple. Number one, for people that actually want to get on stage and speak, right? How did you do that? How did you, because you didn't just go from, a bachelor's and MBA to the world going, hey, I can't wait to have Victor Antonio on stage. You talked about speaking in colleges, stuff like that. How did you get yourself out there? Because I know personally at the beginning, no one's paying Todd Special to be on stage at the beginning, right? They don't know who I am. They don't care.
Oh man, I know that. Yeah. It's painful, man. That's why when I see these people promise speaking gigs like that, it's not. So I started out in the college market because I thought that would be a no-brainer. There's two organizations out there give people real content. There's NACA, N-A-C-A. If you go to NACA.org, and then there's APCA, APCA.com. These are two organizations. APCA is actually easier, by the way, APCA. And so I started speaking in the college market. By the way, you want the real story? Here's a funny story. Okay,
definitely do.
This is like I rarely share this, so you're going to get almost like kind of an exclusive. But this will be the first podcast I ever shared it on. So I didn't tell you this. So I quit May 9, 2001, 3:48 p.m., right? That whole thing. And then about a month later, the guy who was running an organization, a separate company, it was a data center. His name was Helmut. I won't give you his last name, but he was German, right? And he's like, Victor, I got this band. The whole thing, the whole German thing. I got a what? A band. I told him I love music. And so it was a band called Olive Carpet. It was like they were like Creed, if you remember, like bands like Creed and Nickelback, right? And he says, "You're great at sales, you're great at marketing. Can you put these guys on tour?" And I'm like, I said, dude, I just quit. You want me to manage a band? I just quit. True story. And so I said, no. I said, I don't think so. He says, I'll pay you $5,000 a month plus all your expenses. I go, to manage a band? I'm like, done. God, I don't count that as part of the 17, by the way. Yeah. And so I kept that there, and I said, okay. And so I would have to drive. This is what I did. I would drive from Miami, where we were living, to Orlando, where the band was at, 3.5 hours every week. And then I got them on. I did a couple of club circuits for them. I'm like, this is not good. Then I heard about the college market, and then I figured out how that college market worked. And within about a year and a half, I think I had them on I think it was like a 63 city tour. Wow. And because we killed it. We did one of those big showcases. We killed it, right? And that's how I discovered. I said, well, wait a minute. If I can do it for the band, maybe I can do it for myself. And so then I did it for myself. Once we got the gig, once we got them on the road, so to speak, they're like, Helmut was like, can you travel with them? I'm like, dude, no, I ain't doing that. I traveled with them enough to know I'm just not that young anymore. Yeah. And so that's how I got into the college market. So I started speaking in the college market, and you can earn anywhere from 500 to 25. Some people get 35. Some people even got 5,000. The most I ever got was like 2,500, right? Mm-hmm. Keeping it real, keeping it 100. And I remember I got a few gigs here and there, but I remember I'm driving coincidentally, from Miami to Orlando to speak at Valencia College. And I'm having a moment, probably like you're going to understand. I'm driving and I'm going, I'm not making a lot of money. I'm not enjoying this. Right. I said, but that whole circle of influence, what can you control? Right. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I can't control how much money, who books me, who doesn't book me. I can't control how much fun I have with this thing. And it was at that moment I actually changed my style, because I came from corporate America and the style is this. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you just told them, and be very PowerPoint, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
Got rid of the PowerPoint, so to speak. I still use it as a compliment, if you know what I mean. I didn't use it. It was just background.
Yep.
And that video is online because I had to record it. And dude, I get done. It's like amazing. And it was like the Victor style. You see, I'm like, oh, damn, it works. The very next day, I have to fly to Atlanta. Now it's a corporate gig that I got, right? And I remember I'm in the back, so the green room, so to speak. And these are all like, I'll say directors and above, not C-level, directors and above, right? And I'm having a moment. I'm going, do I go back and do it the straight way? Or do I do what I just did at the college market? And I'm not joking. This was a battle, good and evil, man. Like, no, don't do it. Do it. Like, fuck it, do it. No. And so I'm like, And then finally I said, well, we know what the road to doing the same thing leads to. Let's try it the new way. I don't know how it happened, but I finished on top of a table with one shoe in my hand. I think I was telling the sandal story. And the place is going nuts, right? And it was at that moment that I realized I found my style. I found my voice. Yeah. And that's when everything began to change. And the reason I got a lot of speaking gigs after that, because I've done them all, man. I've showed up to places where only 2 people showed up. See, nobody ever sees that. Nobody ever sees when you go somewhere, 2 people show up. Or you get paid and you only get $500 or $250. I've done some for $150. Nobody ever sees that. Yeah. And I think that's a shame of it, because that's where you really cut your teeth. Yeah. And so there's a long road of pain. My trail of tears in the speaking industry is almost legendary. I've experienced it all, man. My favorite story is I opened for Pink. The singer Pink, I opened for. Here's how I opened for. The people who booked me at the university booked me the same night she was performing, like an hour before. One guy shows up. What do? I do what you do as a professional. I sat down with that guy and that student, we had a 1-hour coaching session, and then we're like, we're done. Let's go see Pink. And I just went to see the Pink concert.
That guy has the best damn story to tell.
I was just going to say that. That's yeah.
And no one fucking believes him because no one else saw it.
Dude, I want to hear it.
Dude, it's kind of like when we got, we got into a world, we did some consulting for a company, and when Brandon and I came into an office, we had to learn their way of doing things, right? It's easy to teach sales training. Once you get to, your level, everything, you're there, but you're constantly evolving, right? So we put ourselves in a room, locked ourselves in a room, started finding out how their sales process worked. We're breaking everything down, trying to help them grow. No one believes the heartache we went through to kind of help that company scale and help that efficiency rise, right? From a consulting standpoint, no one ever believes the hard, right? Which I think in today's world, in just my opinion, it's not allowing people to understand the effort that it takes to become a Victor Antonio. I mean, in my opinion, right?
It's become that, we walk up the fucking hill both ways to school in the snow and 3 feet of snow. It's become like that type of story.
Victor and I know that story because you're way too young to know that.
But to your point, that every time I hear speakers talk, it's always the big violin story.
Yeah.
Dude, I got stories. I got stories. But I realize that when I do a story, that's almost narcissistic. When I talk about, let me show you my tragedies, I've traveled around the world, been on almost every continent. I've seen poverty. I'm not complaining anymore. Do you know what I mean? I used to be proud of the hood because I was poor. No. Go to places like Africa, South America. You'll see poverty that you'll come back a little ashamed that you even complained at all. Yeah. But every time I hear these violin stories, they're always the same, aren't they? Yeah. But nobody, and I love your question because about, well, how'd you do it? What's the gap? Because nobody ever talks about the hardships of that gap, what you had to do. And there was a little luck involved. That's why I think Malcolm Gladwell's book really, to me, is the ultimate book on the roadmap to success and what really happens. Because many paths that people take are not duplicatable. They simply aren't. I can sit down with a Grant Cardone, and I'm telling you, his roadmap will be one. I'll sit with a Brad Lee, his roadmap will be another. I'll sit down with you individually, and we'll figure out the same thing. It's not, and we'll realize it's not duplicatable. The biggest example is probably Oprah Winfrey. If Oprah Winfrey were to start her career today, she wouldn't make it. I'm sorry, but she wouldn't make it. There's too much competition. If Zig Ziglar, who I admire, love, him and Jim Rohn, if they were in today's market, they'll still be successful, but would they have the success they had back then? No. I mean, we got the internet, we got all this competition. And so that's why I love the book, man. Yeah, the content out there is just extraordinary. I mean, again, for a guy like me, and this is, and
as crazy as it sounds, this is definitely a whoa moment for me, right? Because again, seeing you on stage, being in the back of that, I tell that story all the time. But more importantly, watching the free content that you put out there, I know it has a lot to do, and I want to kind of tie that into this podcast a little bit. When you were expanding and you were growing, I know you do. So, but for me, the YouTube side of it, dude, the free content has helped you obviously build a brand and build a business. But the content is fucking extraordinary. It's not like I have learned so much personally.
Thank you.
I'm dead serious. And I'll tell you, and Brandon can tell you, there's been some people I've watched and I goes, that guy's full of shit. That guy's full of shit. That guy's full of shit. Yeah. He knows how much I love you and the content you put out there because I'm a real and raw guy. And I'm also a through and through sales guy. But there's no cost to that. Yes, it helps you brand. It helps you market. It helps you grow. There's zero. You could literally go to your YouTube page and learn everything you need to know about sales. That being said, if I was the one guy sitting at the table with you, the lucky one guy that only showed up when there's supposed to be 10 fucking people, I'd be using that story every single day of my life because that one-on-one time with you is invaluable. So tell us why you put out so much free content. I mean, dude, you've given your books away free.
I give it all away. Yeah, I do.
You give it all away. Tell us why.
Early on, I figured out the word freemium. I mean, it's not something I invented. I just figured out what people were doing. The thing is, let's go back. If we can go back 15 years ago, maybe 10 years, but more like 15 years. That was the age of the infopreneur. Really, it was the infopreneur. You had information like Tony Robbins sold his content online. You pay for it, right? That's when people created content and boom, all of a sudden you could buy it and pay a lot of money for it. So what happens? The internet comes up, obviously, and we take for granted that, I mean, even the iPhone's only been around since 2007. We take for granted how long the internet's really been around. I'm not talking dial-up stuff. I'm talking real broadband stuff, right? Yeah. And so I realized early on that when video equipment becomes commoditized, everybody can afford video equipment, microphones and so forth. You see it today. He said, I already saw in my head that this is going to be commoditized very quickly. I saw it early on. And then I said to myself, let's do let me take a step back because you're going to love this story. Because again, this will fill in some of the gap. So I'm trying to get the speaking career going, right? I go to see this guy named Randy Gage, the ultimate infopreneur in the network marketing industry, right? And Randy Gage is just charismatic on stage, and he's doing a workshop in Fort Lauderdale. So I said, I'm gonna go sit by this guy because I gotta figure this out because I'm just not having any success. This is my, trying to ramp it up and it's just not working. And I remember I made a point to sit next to Randy Gage, during lunch. And so then I start with my violin story about how it's not going well in the speaking business, right? And Randy's like you guys, he's raw, like right between the eyes. He said, Victor, let me ask you a question. To which I said, what? Now, I always tell people when somebody says, let me ask you a question, it's not going to go your way, right? So he goes, let me ask you a question. I said, what? He says, what business are you in? I go, the speaking business. He goes, no, like that, like screw you, no. And I go, the training business, no. Okay, the motivational speaking business, no. Sales training, no. I kept a couple of, and then finally the inner Chicago comes out. I said, okay, tell me what business am I in? You tell me. And he looked at me and I remember the phrase. He goes, you're in the marketing business first. Never forget that. And it was almost like an FU line onto the next conversation. And I'm sitting there. You know how when you hear the truth, but you don't want to hear the truth?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, who is this guy? In that internal conversation, but when it finally hits bottom is when I realized I get it. If nobody knows you exist, we've all heard the line, it doesn't matter how good you are. That's what really motivated the YouTube channel. So combine that with Gary V and Go Video. I said, let me give away the content. And I have friends who are not doing as well as me in the speaking business who years ago said, you just can't give away your content. You just can't give it away. You just can't give it away. To which I'm going, why? It's the only way people are going to find out how good I am. So I viewed it as if I delivered value, I'll get value in return. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of speakers only have so much content, or they'll copy other people's content. I've had my stuff copied word for word. I actually had a guy send me a video. He was very proud of it. He copied a 45-minute keynote of mine verbatim. It was amazing. I was amazed and distraught at the same time. Like, oh, that's cool.
Massive compliment.
That's cool. Yeah. It's like, damn it. What? Damn it. That's cool. I was messed up. But I'm like, okay. And it was interesting to see somebody try to do my bit, if I could say it that way.
Yeah.
But what happened was the content kept getting out there, and I truly believe that I kept evolving my content, which is why I appreciate the compliment, because I worked hard on that content, and I would look at a lot of research, and I would actually read papers. I would, do a lot of studying just to create a 3 to 5 minute pitch or video. And so, but all that stuff comes into play into how I got to where I'm at.
Yeah, it's huge, man. I mean, I know this personally, and I can't say it enough. For those of you that are listening right now or watching, I want you guys to go anywhere you can find Victor Antonio. Please do it, because it's been a massive tool to helping us succeed. I want to kind of segue into this, because this is where the real and raw is going to come into play.
Oh yeah, here we go.
And I want the real answer, man.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
There are a lot of people out there that have reached a Victor Antonio level, and they are, let's just say, popular in the world today.
Sure.
And when I first wrote my book, I was on stage, and I remember I created this event, promised my dad I would have this event. I get on stage. Long story short, I went to 10 different major level influencers on Instagram, and I was creating the cover of my book. And I remember putting the book out there, and I sent a message, and no names involved, of course, but sent a message to the top 10 influencers in my world, big names. And I said, hey, and I didn't send it to Victor for those of you listening, but I'm going to use the example. Hey, Victor, my name's Todd Special. I know you don't know who I am, but I respect you tremendously, and I follow you, and I just can't tell you how much you've impacted my life. My dad passed away a couple months ago, and he pretty much forced me to write this book that I've been trying to write. And I'm just curious. I want your opinion of what you think about the cover of this book. Just at any 2 seconds. I know you're busy. If you could just give me your opinion on the cover of the book, right? And out of 10 influencers that I sent that to, how many of them do you think replied, Victor?
2.
0. So I get 0.
I was close.
Yeah, you were close. Yeah. So
I would have responded. I love it when people ask me that question. Yeah, go ahead.
We're going to get into that. And that's the question I'm going to ask you, because that's where I'm leading to.
Yeah.
So then, me being the sales guy, I'm at home telling my wife, I go, I can't believe I don't know these people. I don't want to think the worst, right? You see what you see online through marketing. Are they too busy? Do they think I'm beneath them? Why can't they fucking answer me? I don't understand. Maybe they're too busy. Then I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone's not going to answer 9 million people that message him. I get it, right? So, and then I did this. I go, you know what I'm going to do? They all have courses. They all have shit that they're selling. So here's what Todd Special did. I go to each one of those 10 influencers back on Instagram, and I said, and again, this was not to Victor for those of you listening, but I'll use you as an example. Hey, Victor, dude, I absolutely love what you're doing, and I see that you have a course that's for sale. Now, I know that you probably don't have the time to respond, and whenever you can get to that book cover, give me your opinion. It's great. And I know that I can't excel at life without getting the information that I need to be a better person. So I have one question to ask you.
You're so awesome. You're so awesome. Go
How
ahead.
much is your course? How many people do you think out of the 10 replied, Victor?
9 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yes, I was close.
It was fucking instant. And a lot of them, 2 of them I know was their marketing team.
Right.
The other 8, it was them. And and it sparked a conversation once I asked how much your course was, right? They didn't give a shit about the cover. They didn't give a shit about my dad passing it. There wasn't a woe is me. I genuinely wanted their opinion on the cover of my book. Sure. But when I asked how much your program is, then they answer, and it sparked a conversation. And we know that however you can spark a conversation in sales, creating that rapport and that content, you got a better shot at selling them. So I was shocked that they only answered when I was trying to buy their shit. So the question is this. Yeah. Statement first. I reached out to you. I'm nobody. There's Victor Antonio. Yeah. You instantly replied to me. You talked to me. You were real with me. We had a general conversation. We asked you to be on the podcast. You could have said, guys, sorry, you have no videos up, no episodes up. Don't know who you are. Go fuck yourself. You could have said that, right?
Right.
But you didn't. So when and is there a turning point where you don't respond to people that want to reach out to Victor Antonio to get to know him? Because I feel like there's a lot of
the thing is, I learned this from Gary Vaynerchuk, that you build your community. Here, I'll take a step back. When I was coming up, I can't tell you, again, this is why Brandon, you're so odd, because there's so many like permutations of this whole conversation, how I got here. But I remember I was coming up and nobody wanted to help me. Let's keep it real. Nobody wanted to help me. They wanted me to buy their program, but nobody wanted to help me. And then I got to a point where I bought so many programs, And then I had a moment. Like I said, these are all little moments, little ripples that kind of begin to add up, the cumulative value of things. The guy who wrote the book Atomic Habits highlighted a guy by the name of Dave Brailsford, who's was the coach, the cyclist for the British team, and he came up with this phrase called the aggregation of marginal gains. And the aggregation of marginal gains is little improvements here and there that begin to what? Add up. That's the aggregation of marginal gains. And so all these experiences, and I say that because what led me to be here is the aggregation of marginal gains, little improvements everywhere. And so one moment I had was I was buying people's stuff and I realized, well, first of all, I don't think you're a good speaker. You're okay. But I bought them and I was like, there's nothing aha. It was regurgitated crap sometimes. And I'm like, oh. And then one day, I don't know why, but I had a duh moment, right? One of those hit you in the forehead moments where I go, wait. I said, I got an engineering degree. I got an MBA. I'm president of sales and marketing, large corporation, VP of this. I said, why am I asking these guys who don't even have a college degree for their opinion on how to grow a business? I mean, I had really that moment because I thought they had the secret sauce because that's what they push. I got the secret sauce. And you buy into that. We all fall into that once in a while. I did, right? And I was frustrated because that secret sauce was like mayonnaise. There was nothing special in there. And I just made that decision to go, you know what, I'm going to do this myself and just launch it. This is why I never reached out to other speakers anymore. And people kept calling me. I got criticized for being a maverick, a lone ranger. And I'm like, you don't get me. I'm just not going to ask anybody for anything anymore. I'm just going to do it myself. And so fast forward to your question now, is that I now have sympathy, if not empathy, for people who are trying to come up, who say, hey, Victor, I have a podcast. And some are like, Victor, I only got like 1,000, downloads a month. Can you come on? And I'll say, hey, and I actually respond. They're shocked. I mean, you got to see some of the responses are great because I go, is this really you? I'm like, it's really me. And I go, I can't do it this month. I said, can you push it to next month or whatever? I try to accommodate or reach out again. That's usually my first test, by the way. Reach out again in June or something like that. And then I'll try to schedule it then, and then we'll go for it. And, 50-50 split. Majority, 50% do come back and says, I still want to talk to you. And I think a lot of these people who don't have popular podcasts, I go on, I do it. And they're almost embarrassed because they don't have a lot of viewers. I said, that's how we build. Because I don't want to make them feel bad. I go, that's how we build, right? Yeah. To me, it's just marketing. Remember, let's go back to how I got the television show. Some guy recorded my video in the audience, sent it to me, and I posted it. Random event. For all I know, the person only getting 1,000 downloads a month will probably have that one listener who goes, I think I want to book this guy. Yeah, give him his 20,000. Yeah, great. Thank you. So that's how I view it. So I try to help people coming up. I try not to be that guy that says, well, in order to talk to me, I'll have to charge you. Yeah. I'm like, so I don't do that to people. You
don't, and it proved it, man. And I knew the answer was going to tie him back to the marketing because it'd be contradictory of you to say, I'm not going to be on this podcast because you said that, hey, marketing in the video is the way you go, right? So if we're posting this out there, let's say this were to, on this flip side, if this blows up, when we don't say if, but when this blows up and becomes something massive, then you've got a platform where you can really monetize from and help people that way. But I want to thank you for being the guy that you are, answering when people reach out, because the people that went through the hard sometimes forget the hard, and they don't want to help the people to try to get through it that are trying to do what they do.
I also appreciate your honesty, because I kind of heard two answers in there, and thank you for not saying, well, it's just because I care more than anyone.
Yeah. No. I do. By the way, there's self-interest.
It's fucking marketing, dude. There's something in it for you.
Yes. I will confess. I'm a marketing whore. Is that what you want to hear? Is that what you want to hear?
Yes. That's the role we want to hear, brother. We love that.
Victor Antonio, the marketing whore. That's
the podcast. And the thing is, because
can we? That's a really good beat. Can we title it Victor Antonio, the marketing whore?
Do whatever you want.
We're doing it. I love it.
But the thing is, I see value in it. But the thing is, let's just say that I knew they were never going to be heard. I would still do it for them. Yeah. I have students in colleges who are still. I have one person say, "Look, I have a presentation." No, I'm not joking, on sales, and I was wondering if you could just look at my presentation. And he just freaked the kid out. And he said, like, I'm 16 or something. It was high school. He said, I'm 16. He says, can you look at it? And it was only like 5 slides. I said, sure, change this, change that, change that. And then he wrote me back this manifesto about how much he loved me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's the most amazing thing, man. It's the most. I've had people pick up my information. I had a lady out of Germany do her dissertation on 3 of my keynote speeches from a linguistic and paralinguistic standpoint. She sent me the dissertation because you never know where it's going to land. I mean, you just don't.
Yeah, dude, it's all about, and one thing I love about, you talked about on the stage multiple times, also impacting lives, right? Because you don't know. I mean, the coolest thing about people reaching out to you is that you could impact one life that can make a massive change in the world. That being said, it's still marketing. I mean, you're still doing what you do, living by your word, preaching the raw and the real. When you get on stage though, and people hear you, it's the same when you're up there. Yes, you work on it. We know you work hard on that presentation, but dude,
I love when you say the raw and the real. The raw, it's the way. It's the way you say the raw and the real.
No, I love the marketing. I keep looking at a fucking mug right here. I can't even. I look at it like marketing.
A mug.
It's amazing.
We were gonna do that for Brandon, but his forehead's so big it had to be a wide.
You can't talk about forehead sizes with a bald guy and an old guy.
He's going for it.
You can't fucking do it.
By the way, I got to tell you this story because this is, you know how they say you should never meet your idols because they'll disappoint you. And I was doing this whole, I help people where I can. I mean, I really mean that. I try to kind of just provide nudges. And now when people cross the line, like, okay, can you coach me for a month? I go, no, I don't mentor. And I tell people I don't, but I said, look, just tell me, I can point you to content. I've even, my Sales Velocity Academy, I've gifted it to a lot of people because I know they can't afford it. That's okay. I mean, it all comes back. It's all karma. But I got to take you back to, and I think it's like 2000, I'm going to screw up the year. But anyway, at least 8 years ago, I get a call again. Love these. Hey, Victor. I'm like, yes. I said, you remember those, the big events with like Zig Ziglar at the time? That's where I met Rudy Giuliani, who high-fived me, which is the coolest thing. When he high-fived me, as we passed each other, he was coming off the stage, I was coming on the stage. He says, your turn. I go, bam. Security guard looks at me. I'm like, hey, it was really cool. It was a moment. So Zig Ziglar's going to be there. So I got to tell you the Zig Ziglar story because it really ties into my philosophy, and he just solidified it this day. So I wanted to meet Zig Ziglar, right? And they're like, no, you can't meet him. You can't meet him. Long story short, they go, okay. He said he'll meet with you because I made that documentary I mentioned earlier, The Motivator, and I mentioned Zig Ziglar, and I had a DVD for him, the whole bit. And he didn't have time, this and that. And so I remember the lady said, you can meet with him. And I'm like a nervous rabbit, right? Because that's my guy. That's my man, right? Yeah. And so I remember I walk into the green room, and there he is with his wife, Red, right? And so I don't know. I just start blathering. Blah, you're the greatest. You're awesome. Just throwing up all over the guy. Yeah. And finally, when I finally catch my breath, he says, well, you know who I am. Who are you? Because I didn't even introduce myself. I just launched into all this love fest, right? And so I said, oh, yeah, my name is Victor. Da, da. And then I remember stopping, like in the mid-sentence, and I said, can I just hug you? I'm not lying. Zig Ziglar looks at me and goes, sure. And I give him a hug, but wait a minute, it gets better. I give him a hug. I let him go after about 3 minutes, right? I let him go. And then he says, Victor, my wife Red's a hugger too. And I'm like, you're going to let me hug your wife? Are you kidding me? So after that, I got a call, and I had to set that up because I went to see him just to see him. And then I got a call sometime afterwards. Hey, a speaker dropped out. Would you like to be one of the speakers? Share the stage with Zig Ziglar? Are you, Rudy Giuliani, a bunch of other speakers, Robert Schuller, Dr. Robert Schuller, all these people. And I'm like, sure, right? And so I get there, and I see Zig Ziglar, and he remembers me. And he starts talking to me real polite, right? And I'm like, I'm still having an out-of-body experience. I'm on stage with Zig Ziglar. And I remember my day was on day 2, I spoke. And the way it works is that you get there, well, they drive you, they pick you up at the hotel, limousine, drive you to the event. Boom, you do the event. They say you shoot back out the back and put you back in the limousine. You get back to the hotel, right? So I go to the hotel, down to the lobby, go out there, do my thing, come back. I get to the lobby. Across the lobby, I see Zig Ziglar and his wife, right? And I'm like, not gonna mess with him. He looks at me. The dude makes a beeline towards me. He comes over. How'd it go, Victor? How'd you do up there today? And I'm going, what the? Yeah. Is he asking me how I'm doing? Is Zig Ziglar really asking me how I did? And it was this beautiful, genuine, I just want to know how you did. And I was trying to answer him, but my other part of my brain was like screaming, he's actually asking you. He's actually cares. And And that to me was a moment, because I met my idol and it was not a disappointment. And I thought that was so genuine of him, that how can I not carry that on? Do you know what I mean? It's so real. I know how much that moment impacted me. So you can imagine if somebody looks at you and say, man, you're awesome. I love you. I follow you all the time. Why wouldn't you want to give them that same moment?
I love that, dude.
Yeah. That was my zig moment, man. It's beautiful. So I think as we get older, because I'm a little, apparently Brandon's pointed out already, I'm a little older. So as we get older,
he was the old guy. Let's just get that straight.
as we get older, especially for me, something happened where something clicked. I don't know what it is. Again, keeping it real, is that, there's a time when you're younger, you're envious of other people. As much as you hate to admit it that you're envious, we're somewhat envious, right? We're always comparing ourselves with other people. Something clicked in my brain. I can't pinpoint the time when it happened, but now it's like I genuinely celebrate other people's successes, even if they're like sales trainers just like me. It doesn't matter. And I think the faster you can get to the moment where you celebrate other people's successes, believe it or not, it's hard to get there, because our brain is trained to compete, right? That's who we are. We're salespeople. We compete. But when you stop competing and you stop appreciating other people, it's really been interesting how it's coming back to be manyfold now. And I wish I learned this lesson earlier.
Yeah.
That I thought I was like, I'm not going to highlight that guy because that takes away from me. Wrong. By highlighting other people, all of a sudden, all these other people are sending people my way. He's such a great guy. You should work with him, do more business with him, or they throw me business they don't want. And it's been very amazing. So I thought I'd share that, because I think if we can clear the field of envy, I think we'd accelerate our path to success.
No, I love that, because I've been on sales floors. I still remember like early first sales jobs I ever had, where, there's always that one guy or girl that's, head and shoulders above the rest. And you always want to go over there and, sit down with them and see if they can, give me some tips. How's your pitch? And they, you want to know my pitch?
Yeah.
No. And that, nor would they even really give you the time. So, one thing that's cool is early on, years ago, when Todd and I started working in sales together, one of the things that have, you mentioned attraction, which I love, because multiple people now at your level have mentioned attraction, that law of attraction. One of the things that gravitated and attracted people towards us were in those industries, we were the only ones that were celebrating everyone else, giving everyone the pitch, helping everyone, doing trainings for people that you don't make money on, doing trainings for people on other teams. Because I want everyone to be the best. If I think about like sports, I don't want to be, go back in Lakers days or Bulls days. I don't want to beat the Bulls without Jordan. I want to beat the Bulls at their best.
Yeah.
So I don't want some limped ass team coming in here just to say I beat the Bulls. Fuck that, dude. I want them at their best. And that's kind of how I feel with this too. So it's twofold. One, I want to know that if I'm on top and I'm succeeding at my level that I wanted to get to, above even other people, competition, ego, call it what the fuck you want to, at other people that are really, really, really good. But at the same time, I'm going to cheer those guys on. I'm going to help them. I'm going to have a beer with them. I'm going to do everything to help them on too. Well, so I love that you said it.
I also think that what you learn from people at any level is important. We talk about it all the time, right? Like, I feel like, and I know that we don't know each other that well on a personal level, but I think at our level, especially in sales, we're pretty good at reading people, right? So I feel like when someone's been in your business, whether it's 1 day or 30 years, I say it all the time, you can learn from them. So I think a lot of people, I did a handling objection training one time. There was 200 people in the room, and I said, I'm going to give $20 to every person I can't handle your objection, right? And so we went through the room, and a couple of them, I love
that. That's a great idea. I love that. It's a good idea.
It was amazing. It was a lot of fun. Brandon was there. It was really cool. I handled a ton of objections. Idea. But then you had that guy in the front row that goes, you didn't get all of them. You had to pay $200 out today, right? 200 people paid $200 out. Fine. I couldn't handle 10 objections out of 200. No big deal. What they didn't realize, I told them, I said, that $200 just made me a fortune, because when couldn't handle the objection, you guys handled it for me. As a group of 200 people, I learned more from you in this training than you learned from me. And
they'll never forget you, by the way. They'll never forget you.
Now who's the marketing whore, right?
Amen.
There it is. Sorry. It comes out of
marketing whore. Number 2.
I'm so loose with it.
That's the real and the raw.
Hell
Victor
yeah.
Antonio, the loose marketing whore. I love that. That's great, dude. We can go a lot of. We said raw and
hell
uncut.
yeah.
We're doing.
There's no way my wife will ever hear this podcast. I swear to you, I will delete the IP address of your website for a whole bit.
Well, there's this thing called pixelating. We're going to make sure that when you go through, see.
But I love what you said, Brandon. I mean, I think we it's okay to compare yourself to kind of see where you're at, right? Gauge. But I like what Jordan Peterson wrote in his book, I think the 12 Rules of Life or something like that. We said you should compare yourself really to where you were yesterday. And I think again, I like looking at what you're doing, what other people are doing. I like to see, but then I have to integrate it into what's me. Like that works for, like you were mentioning, Todd, it's like, you had to find that speaking style, right? That resonated with you. And then when you just went raw, that was like, that's him. Yeah. And everybody resonates with that. So I think it's okay to compare, to look, but again, just celebrate them like you were mentioning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
man.
I know we could talk all day long, but I know
Sure,
I know a lot of these guys because I was super excited to have you on. What is your advice you would give someone new into sales who loves the opportunity that sales presents, right? Which I think we all would agree here that it's the number one paying job on the planet, right?
Yep.
And it's more of a passion and a love. But if I were new into sales and I were to ask Victor Antonio, what are the key moves I need to make in order to be the most successful in sales when I know nothing about it? How would you help them catapult into the industry?
So, Brandon, you asked me earlier, what was the biggest mistake in sales? I don't think I've ever made a big mistake in sales. And I'm going to tie it back into the advice piece. I don't think I've ever made big mistakes. I just made a lot of little mistakes along the way. Put the wrong price, get the wrong discount, say the wrong things during the presentation. Demo didn't work. Oh, shit. Should have checked it before I lit that one up. There were so many things, right? So many things, little things. And so when I look at giving advice, I mean, there's so many things you can say, but let's look at confidence, because I think that's what salespeople lack, right? Confidence, right? And the only way to develop confidence is to really know your product. And I'm so about this. Because I think the core of any great salesperson is that if you know your product, and you know how it helps your client, that's simple. Know your product is one thing. Know it helps your clients is a whole different story, right? Then I don't care how good of a salesperson you are or how bad you are, the customer will feel that. They'll see that. And the best example I have is a guy by the name of, he worked for him, his name is David Shoemaker. And the guy was like, you ever see Where's Waldo? He looked like that without the hat, right? And he's very quiet, total introvert. And when I first, acquired the group, they're like, that's one of your top 3 salespeople. I'm like, that guy? And I'm like, yeah. And David was so quiet, but he knew his product and he knew how it would help the clients. And so one day I remember asking the client, I said, why do you like this guy so much? Like, why do you buy from him so much? But it was kind of a friendly conversation. He goes, Victor, he comes in here, he tells us what he has, never pushes, just explains and how it might help us. And then he just leaves. He says, but he really explains it to us. Now, he had no sales pitch. There's no great closing. There's none of that. But people wanted to do business with him because they trusted him. And so if we look at the word trust, we all say trust, right? I was like, oh yeah, build trust, but nobody ever defines it. Here, let me define what trust is. One is that you're a subject matter expert. You understand your product. 2, you take the customer's point of view. You know what they're going through. You know what they're struggling with, right? And then number 3, here's the key part. You have their best interest in mind. What do I mean by that? You're not sticking your hand in their pocket gratuitously. You say, dude, no, look, here's what you need. Let me explain to you why. Subject matter expert. Here's how it can help you. Point of view. And dude, you don't need to buy this high-end stuff right now. Why don't we start with this A system here? And then as you move up to B, C, D, we'll talk about it then. But right now, all you need is this. And when you have those 3 things, you know what you're talking about. You know how to take their point of view. And you don't try to screw them. You try to give them what's reasonable. You empower them to make the right decision and you guide them. And again, you don't stick your hand in their pocket. That to me is how you build trust. Those 3 things: subject matter, point of view, best interest in mind financially. And I think that's the advice I would give any starting salesperson. Know your product, understand the client, don't be greedy, stop sticking your hand in your pocket. All you got to do is do it the right way and they'll give you the money in the long run.
I feel like that resonates so well with us. When we opened this company called Make Sales Great Again, it was a catchy title, political, whatever. I kept it make sales great again.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it.
The cool thing about it is that I truly believe that there are so many salespeople that are learning the wrong way. They are sticking their hand in people's pocket. They're doing it for that commission, not realizing that doing the right thing for someone, being honest, selling with integrity is going to create a long lasting relationship with people, which you're going to get a way more amount of income just doing the right thing than you would off just that quick, easy cash. So when we created this company, we literally teach people to sell with integrity. They say, what's the key factor in being a best salesperson? I said, honesty. Listen to what matters to them. There are so many people, and I want you to kind of just get into this just a little bit before you get off, but what impact does not lying to people have on clients? Like, there are so many people that embellish the product or service that they have. They say it'll do something that it won't. I tell people on a constant basis that talking about what the product won't do for the client will sell them a lot more than just, pitching the features and the benefits and all that bullshit, just, just throwing shit in their face. So we want people to stop lying, be honest. Don't be that, because they give salespeople a bad name. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, there's studies that actually reinforce what you've just said, that if you give somebody 3 positive and toss in a negative, it actually gives you more credibility because you're willing to admit your vulnerabilities. Even as a speaker, I've seen some speakers use this very, deftly, is that they'll say, look, there's a lot of things I'm good at. One thing I'm not good at is PowerPoints. So my PowerPoints, I'm pretty, but don't focus on the PowerPoint. Listen to the content I'm about to deliver. And I'm like, that was so clever how he framed that, because it was like, it took you away from focusing on the ugly PowerPoints. Because now when they saw the ugly PowerPoints, they go, yeah, we expected that. Yeah. And so I've been asked to lie in the past about product. And again, I got stories, man. And I refuse to do it. I lost so much money because I wouldn't do it, but I was thinking long game. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't sleep with myself. I sleep so well at night because I've not screwed anybody. Yep. If somebody comes up to me and says, you screwed me, I said, please explain to me how, and let's correct this. But I've not lied to people. And so I walked away from, and again, it's a longer story, but I worked for a company that was selling a software package, and they wanted me to not lie, but either bend the truth or lie by omission. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, because I saw the results of it. And when I did it the first time, like, well, we're all young, we bend, we lie maybe, right? Yeah. And then you get that feeling, you're not feeling good about yourself, man. Yeah. And it's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. Now, if everybody listening to this has a mindset of abundance, which I really buy into, and that is, if I can't work with you, that's fine. I'll go make some money somewhere else. If you knew that you can make money anywhere, most people wouldn't lie. In fact, the majority of salespeople would probably not lie at all. They say, why do I have to lie when I could just go to another company and make as much money without having to lie? Nobody wants to lie. But I think some people were trained that way. Some people were told to bend the truth. And you see it. Again, I don't want to holler out any names here, but you see a lot of sales trainers out there. Here's what they teach you. And you're like, no, man, you can't do that. That ABC crap that where you learned back in the day, always be closing, that's done. Yeah. You got an informed buyer. We all know this, right? So I think if you're caught lying, I think you hurt yourself in the long run. This is the obvious one. But isn't it really hard, though, when you're starting out to be honest? Let's go back. It's almost like we have to regress to when we were young. So when we talk about giving advice to younger people, we almost have to regress and remember how hard it was to be honest, because we were so insecure. Sure. Right? We were so insecure. And instead of saying, I don't know, we made some shit up. Let's be honest. I've done it when I was young. You guys have done it, right? Yep. And so my advice to young people is that if you, again, I get back to the core message. If you know your product, and you know how it helps your customer, you don't have to do that. You just present the value. And I think we have to trust the process, that if I present the value, doesn't matter how nice my hair looks or my suit or my t-shirt, they're going to want to buy from me. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's how I would look at truth.
You did.
I want to piggyback one thing, and I promise that's the last question.
Sure, no.
Because everything is, a ton of industries that we've personally worked with have changed recently with COVID and everything going on, and they've gone virtual. And I wanted to get your thoughts on, how that trust building goes, and has the game has changed a little bit, and kind of what are some key points that you see having someone, continue to be successful or gain success in selling in a virtual world?
I think I have not, obviously there's some difference in terms of interaction, right? And how it feels different when you're in the room versus virtually, right? So let's admit that already. Makes it a little tougher, right? But one of the things I've noticed, that virtual, not virtual, I think one of the things people are starving, like hungry, is that they want direct conversation. Like A to Z, no twists and turns. Let's just talk straight. I can't tell you how many times I said, can we just talk? Like really just talk. And if we're a fit, great. If we're not, good. Everybody says this. Absolutely. They don't just say, go ahead. Yes, they go, do it. Absolutely. Because they're starved. Everybody, I call it the wordy. People just say a lot of words, but don't say anything. And people just want you to talk to them. So I think if we learn how to just talk to people, and you guys apparently know how to do this because you're very direct. I mean, by the way, when I say be direct, I'm not saying be, rude or anything, right? Or gross in any way. You're direct. I said, look, I just signed up a coaching client and he liked me out of 3 because he goes, you were the most direct, Victor. And I just resonated with you right away because I didn't care if he signed up or not. Now, let me explain that. When I say I didn't care was I wasn't emotionally attached to it. If I lost you, mindset of abundance, that's right. I got another one I can probably get. Yeah. And so I could have that conversation with them. Young people don't have that yet. And that's where they have to develop that mindset of abundance, that there'll always be another deal. And so we at our age, probably, not Brandon, because he's younger, right?
I love that.
Don't have that. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think people
100%.
Want direct talk. Yeah. And whether it's virtual or real, that's what they're starving for.
Well, and that's the real behind it, though, right? That's what sales, I think, is in general, right? Is like people just want to have a conversation. Sales is just a conversation, right? People don't, there's no famous line. There's no magic pill people can take. There's fucking fairy dust. People just want to talk to you, know that you actually care, right? So
my wife says I ask too many questions because I'll talk to somebody and I just like eliminated taboos about money and stuff like that. And sometimes even politics or whatever, I just said, let me ask you a question. And my wife's like, you can't. And later on, she'll say, you can't ask that. I go, why not? I said, I'll say something like, my neighbor who was building, putting landscaping in the back. I said, dude, how much did that cost you? My wife's like, you can't ask that. I'm like, why not? I can find it on the internet. I can sure you tell me. And it was weird when I was just that direct with them. It's almost like it was like the shattering. All this pretense went away. It's like, oh, now that you mentioned it, that right there, that cost me like $5,000. I thought it was going to be cheaper, Victor. I'm like, next thing you know, we're having like this real organic conversation because I'm not afraid to ask those questions. When you're talking to a VP or a C-level person, we're all afraid, to get intimidated by the titles. I don't care about your title. I just don't. I really don't. And so I'm like, dude, I know what's keeping you up at night. You can play this whole role with me, which are, get all uptight. But I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, I know you're worried. Revenue's not coming in. Board of directors on your ass. You need to grow a market. You don't know how, which is why I'm here. Can we just have a conversation?
That's it.
And almost every time, without exception, let's do this, Victor. Let's have the conversation. And I think, again, that's what people want.
Final question. Who's the better closer, you or your wife? Because I've heard the stories about vacation.
My wife.
Heard the story about pulling
you heard the story. My wife.
I've done my research. Pitching you the high-end vacation.
That's mind-blowing. The wife thing. Man,
how about the pull over? I got to ask, right? Yeah, listen. Victor.
You didn't ask me.
Oh, dude.
Dude, know that one. That's funny. Okay,
your content is unreal. But we do our research, man. So
my wife, she's And by the way, I'll wrap up with this. My wife is the better closer. But one of the things I've learned is that when you're delivering content, that the ability to apply that realness, and it could be with humor or not humor, but that realness, I apply with humor. That's kind of my style, right? And I think that's been so effective that if you can find a way to weave stories into your presentation, into the content, and that's why, again, I'm going to hang out with the young people for a while, is that they don't have the stories yet. Right. And through experience, they build these stories, and these stories become incorporated as part of the presentation, which gives more credibility. And so I always tell people when they're young, if you don't have the stories, listen to other stories and then give credit. I was listening to Victor Antonio. He told a great story. I just want to add it to my presentation, whatever it may be. But I think having that sense of humor has been very effective. And my wife is like my shtick, you know what I mean, in my presentations. But the stories I tell are very true. That she runs the household. She just did it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, she just kicked me out of the room gradually. And next thing you know, I'm in another room. And then she's like, see, you got all your clothes over here. I said, well, you just kicked me out of that room. I like that. She goes, but this is better. Can you now see it? And I'm like,
can you now see it? I've heard that on stage too.
It's amazing what she's done to me, man. You've done your research, man. Well done, gentlemen. Well
thank
done.
you.
Well, Gut Check is awesome. Gut Check.
Close out with this. The best first line I ever heard you had. I guess I'm Victor Antonio. I'm on stage. Been married 26 years.
Yeah.
Women, but 26. And then he says, no, I'm just kidding. It's just been one.
I make him do it. There's a cadence to that. Even that has a cadence, right? And so I go, by the way, I said something like, oh, by the way, just because I know there's always ladies in the audience, right? So I said, okay, I've been married. Well, now it's like going on, let me see, 88, whatever 88 today is. And I'll say like 30 years, right? I said, by the way, married 30 years. And I do this. And I just bait them to all clap. And then as soon as they all clap, I go, 4 different women, or something like that. And you see these women just like, what? That's just kidding. And that just gives you some credibility, man. But yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
35 years together with my wife, man. How's that?
Man,
that's cool. That's my biggest sale to date, by the way.
Is it crazy to think that you've been married longer than Brandon's been alive?
I keep getting better looking this whole damn podcast.
Victor, I can't thank you enough for being on, man. First and foremost, I can't thank you for just responding and saying yes. I also want to let the listeners know, people watching, man, that you talk about Grant and all these other people being real people. You're the real guy, man. You're the real deal.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I don't blow smoke up anybody's ass. Neither does Brandon. Gut Check is going to help people get connected with people like you, right? The marketing, cool. we make fun of the marketing whore, the whole 9 yards. You add value. You've added massive value to me today. I'm sure to Brandon as well and to all the listeners. And I just want to thank you, man, because it means a lot. It really does.
Yeah, this will definitely be a memorable podcast in my head. If I ever forget you guys, just go marketing whore. I'm going to go home.
That's the best.
By the way, Brandon, so this answers the question when you say, what's the biggest mistake you've made? Being on Gut Check and talking about marketing whore. I don't know how I got there. That's the biggest mistake I've made.
Remember, the Raw and the Real gave you the most views. Oh, so
the Raw and the Real will give you some appeal. We got to come up with a rhyme on that one.
I'll tell you, I only asked for one thing, and I'll fucking pay you for it. I want a Gut Check custom pen. I see your Instagram, bro.
Did you see that? That's my hobby, man.
Man, those are bad. I literally show my wife. I'm like, dude. He's like,
tell them about the title. The new company we're gonna sell. We're gonna buy the website.
So we already bought it, so you can't take it.
What?
We're gonna make pens great again.
Make pens great again, man. You know what I'm gonna do, man? And I don't do this for everybody. Only like people who come on my podcast, but I'm gonna do it for you guys. Send me your addresses.
Yeah.
And I will send you a customized Victor Antonio pen. I don't do that for everybody.
Damn me one on that one.
Only because I enjoyed this podcast so much.
Sell them, and I realize
how to close a legend and a marketing whore.
I've been closed. Let me see. I've been called a marketing whore. I've been closed. I've been insulted by my age. And I still gave him a pen. This is amazing. This is amazing. How does this happen?
Tying some negatives with the positives. We were learning as we were going. Tell them all the good shit.
Do, man. Do send me, man. I'll send you guys out one. I don't sell them. I give those to my customers. By the way, it started out as a hobby, if I can bore you. And then I started giving out to customers as gift before the pandemic. The reaction, stunning. I had one CEO almost tear up on me. When I told him I made this, he goes, what? And I go, no, it's a gift. I just want to say thank you. And it's been the most amazing thing. It's a great hobby, though. It's a great hobby. Awesome. I love turning pens.
Them. It's a good personal touch. I love it.
Yeah, man. Cool.
Well, thank you again, man. I appreciate your time. It means everything to me, man. This is kind of one of those whoa moments. You've been one of those guys I've admired for a very long time.
Thank you, man.
Sitting in the back of GrowthCon 1 in 2017, now interviewing you is a great moment for me. So thank you so much.
Big time.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. It's been a ride.
We'll talk to you soon, man.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Later, guys. Take care, man. See ya. Bye-bye.
If you love this guest as much as we did, please follow them on all their social media platforms. The way to support us is to like and comment on all your favorite episodes. And please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification for the next Gut Check Uncut.